Hi, everybody. It's good to see everybody. Man, there is a lot of people on here this morning. And I'm really glad I got here just in time to see Michael's presentation. That was awesome. Yeah, I actually was going to ask Beryl and Grace if you guys wanted to kind of start the conversation, but I don't mind jumping in a little bit. I think mostly and please correct me if you guys if all of you here would rather hear about something else or talk about this in a different way, please either put stuff in chat or raise your hand and feel free to interrupt me. It's no problem. But first off, I'll just say I am so excited to see that there's 36 people on this call. It tells me that OpenMRS is alive and well out there. And it reminds me of something that I've said to the core team here at OpenMRS Inc. That supports OpenMRS community is, OpenMRS is more than U.S. government funding, and I know that everybody right now it's a lot of chaos and a lot of disruption, and it's really volatile out there from the funding perspective. So it's really hard to kind of know what's going to happen on the funding side of things. But OpenMRS existed long before all this funding, and it'll exist long after any of this funding. Like OpenMRS isn't an organization that we created somehow to create to go after funding or to financially support the development of this code. OpenMRS has been the heart and soul of all of you, right? I really believe that even if we look back in the history of how OpenMRS started, it was simply a collection of people who wanted to do something together. And it was never about, do we have enough funding to do this? It was always about, do we have enough momentum and passion to do this? And I see that here today as well. I think it's the same situation. And even though these past few years as a community, we've all been funded in different ways to work together. Many of us, not everyone, but many of us have had our day jobs, so to speak, and worked on OpenMRS and contributed to OpenMRS in that way. The fact that we're all here today and is because we want to be here, not because we're funded to be here. And so that's generally how I'm thinking about this time. And I feel like I want to reassure people that OpenMRS as a community and OpenMRS as a support for all the work that you do is not going anywhere. We're still strong, we're still stable, we're still in it as much as we ever were. I'm here because I want to be here. You're here because we want to be here. And I think we'll find our way through this. I think we've seen some ebbs and flows with implementers and partners out there, some who've, lost their funding or their funding has been limited. And, some people have moved organizations, some people have changed kind of the direction of the work they're doing, but that's nothing new for us. And I know it's really rocky, and, my heart is going out to people whose jobs have been affected. And we want to make sure that you have the right support from the community in wherever you end up. But as a whole community, we've seen this before where we've seen funding flows, we've seen people change organizations, we've seen people change directions in what they need and what they do. And as a community, we've either changed how we support people in order to make it effective and more efficient for people to be able to contribute, or we've grown in different ways by getting new organizations to come into the community, or we've engaged different leadership. So I don't want the changes in the community or the ebbs and flows in the community to make people nervous that it will affect our OpenMRS ability to continue, or OpenMRS as a community or software to be able to fulfill our mission of really improving records management, in every country we work in. So with that, I know that was kind of brief, but I think I'll pause just to see what questions people have, or if Grace and Erica and Beryl, you want to weigh in and add flavor to that, or anybody really.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Jan. The only story I would add to that is the story of what happened in our last release. In the previous release that we got out in March, that was around the same time that so many of our community organizations received stop work orders and were threatened to basically stop doing all the work that they were doing. And there was a lot of unsureness around whether people could contribute. And people were basically furloughed from their jobs in many organizations. And we saw that that was about half or 50% of our community organizations. And as a result, while we were working on that release, we saw about a 50% decrease of the usual number of PRs that we would expect from organizations. However, the other 50% carried on and the release carried on. We have said for years that working together reduces risk in the long term. And we've seen that in small examples, but this was probably the biggest example we've seen in recent history, where the other half of the community carried on. The product release went forward, folks supported each other, folks even volunteered to work on things. But the point remains that the model works. And so I have confidence in our community and our product going forward. Thank you. Over.
Thanks, Grace. Yeah, I like that story. It really just shows the passion across the community as a whole. Other people, do you have anybody else have questions or stories they'd like to tell? Things they're concerned about? Erica, Beryl, Veronica? I'm just looking at names on the screen. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think I'd just like to say, amidst everything, we were still able to maintain the activity in the community. Definitely, there were concerns with implementing, partners trying to figure out what next, what it means for them. But just keeping those conversations going on what they were working on, what was working for them, if they were taking maybe some time to figure things out, also really helped in just ensuring that we're in the loop of what everyone is working on, which kept us in high spirits, just understanding how everyone is feeling about the situation, given that it was a tricky situation. But with time, as time has gone by, we see that the momentum is actually improving, even with the partner organizations, as we pivot towards what next for the community and those organizations in question.
Yeah, a lot of the work that we've done over the past few years is really to engage, as you all know, engage organizational leadership in order that individuals like yourselves have support and advocacy to be able to work on OpenMRS and contribute to the community. And so that's not going to go away, regardless of which organizations are out there doing this kind of work, right? So, if new organizations pop up or people change organizations and are interested in us working with their organization to get them on board with these kinds of efforts, we're open and happy to have those conversations. We're happy to support you in those conversations. Additionally, I think one of the things we're seeing is as a positive out of all of this is that, from a lot of the funding, of course, was U.S. government based, and now that funding has been withdrawn in many ways, or will be withdrawn in many ways, we're seeing ministries of health really step into the role of trying to figure out how to truly own the implementations nationally of OpenMRS, and really thinking through what does that mean and how do they further that. And so we're finding many ministries wanting to talk to OpenMRS leadership and folks like Grace and Beryl and others to really understand how do they engage further with OpenMRS community, and how do they make sure that there's folks in their country, regardless of organizations, that can help support their efforts. And so I see that as one step closer to our real North Star of what we've all wanted, which is making sure that governments and ministries of health really have ownership and high influence over the direction of OpenMRS, and really making sure that there's a clear vision for how you all can actually be contributing to make sure that they achieve their mission and not just what we want from our U.S. Funding partners. And so hopefully, like, I see that as a real positive. And to me, I'm very optimistic that these ministries really have continued to express their commitment to OpenMRS. And, that means there will be organizations, regardless of what it looks like right now, there will be organizations that support this work. There's no way for that to not exist, and make sure that EMRs continue across countries. And so I think it's a great win out of a very bad situation, personally. Hopefully that's all helpful for everybody. Grace, I see Matt has a question or comment.
Hi, thanks for the update, Jan. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thanks.
Something similar happened to MITRE in their CVE database just this week, where they found out that they were lacking funding. Their funding had been withdrawn, and they spun out a foundation, and it seemed like they had that in the back pocket for a while. I wondered if OpenMRS has a similar idea going on.
Well, OpenMRS already has a nonprofit supporting the community. It was spun up about, I want to say it was 13 years ago. We created an Inc. Here in the US, that's what we would call it, an Inc. It is a nonprofit, and the sole purpose of the Inc. is actually to support the desires and needs of the community of practice. And so everything we do with the Inc., including any hiring of core staff like Erica and Grace and Beryl, is to make sure that it's to coordinate people and to facilitate people's contributions and make sure that there aren't blockers or issues that prevent people from working together, trying to help matchmake and things like that. So we wouldn't be spinning up a foundation because we already have one.
Oh yeah.
So it's slightly different. Yeah.
No, that's great to hear, and shows my ignorance of the project. I apologize for that, but also that gives a really nice a vehicle for the Ministry of Health from wherever to get involved. That's good.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for the question. And it's not ignorance. We honestly, we purposely don't talk about the nonprofit very much because we see it as just a support mechanism. And the important thing here to me is all the people here in the community. And so, what's less important is the mechanics behind it of how we do the day-to-day. But we do make sure that gets done. And the fact that you guys don't always know about that actually that means success to me, because that means you're not worried about it. It's working well.
That's a very good answer. Thank you.
But I would, anytime any of you have ideas for, ways we can improve our support, ways we can do things more efficiently or effectively to make your lives easier, please come to me and let me know. I'm sure you guys can find me anywhere on the internet and just reach out to me. Many of you have my WhatsApp. No problem just to contact me. Any other thoughts or questions? Happy to answer anything. I may not have the answer, but I'll try to make it up. No? All right. Well, Grace and Beryl, did I talk about everything you guys wanted me to say? Anything else?
Yeah, I think that was great, Jan. Oh, sorry, over to you, Beryl.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's fine. I don't think there's anything else left to be covered.
Okay. Well, if anybody has any questions that even if you were not wanting to ask here, feel free to reach out and ask me questions. There's no problem at all. I mean, sometimes many people come to me with questions that I go, oh, I hadn't actually thought about that. So it's helpful for me too. So Yeah, I'm excited about what we're doing and looking forward to seeing the rest of these demos and squads do their showcase. Thanks all.